because you know me, like I'm the biggest Russ defender there is. Of course, he has his issues, and of course, some of their problems are his fault, but I don't agree with the idea that it's all his fault. I think the team as a whole, the offense is stagnant. There's a lack of effort on a lot of plays. I think the Lakers statistically walk the most of any team in the league, just overall. That's not even like, that's not a joke. That's not a that's not a assumption. That's legit. Like they legitimately run the least of any team in the league. So, and you watching it, you can tell. So
let me put you on game.
We'll talk about a team on the other end of the spectrum. It's the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 5-5, so distinctly mediocre over their last 10 games. And they've won 4 in a row, but the competition hasn't been great, to say the least. Russ is currently averaging 19, 9, and 8 over the last 10 games on 44, 21, 59 shooting splits with 5 turnovers a game over that span. So he hasn't been great. And the conversation has kind of devolved over the course of the season, where people are starting to ask if his signing was a mistake and how his presence on the team is affecting their, abject mediocrity over the course of the season, and whether or not the Lakers should pursue a trade for him, and if something like that is even possible. So what do you think?
I think that the chances of them trading Russ this season are slim to none. Between the money and the money owed, he's due to make 44 million. Teams making that match is going to be tough. A team like the Knicks conceivably could make that match, but then you got to make the money match. Then you have to also make the interest match. Russell Westbrook's stock is at an all-time low, and in today's NBA, that really values shooting, and the importance of possessions. For some reason, that just doesn't seem the most important thing to Russell Westbrook. It seems the most important thing to him is playing his game. We've seen repeatedly on interviews and post-game interviews, he's been throwing a little bit of shade at the notion that he doesn't play well and that he needs to make adjustments. The mantra for him, it's kind of been like, I'm going to continue to play my game. I'm going to continue to get my numbers, and I'm going to do my thing, help come hella high water. And that isn't going to be sustainable if they want to have success this season. And I don't know if he can look himself in the mirror, because, and I remember last season we were saying, are we not appreciating Russ? And I think that we do appreciate Russ. We appreciate anybody who's willing to put their heart and soul on the court, but you also have to make adjustments. You also have to work on your flaws and become a better ball player. The goal is to be better every night, not to get a triple-double every night. And so he might be saying, he puts his heart and soul, but if you're just working harder, not smarter, are you really? That becomes a question. And I don't know if franchises really want to trade for a point guard, someone that they're going to have to give the keys of their franchise to in order to make that happen. And yeah, so so I think the Lakers are in a pickle, and they're only going to get out of it if Westbrook wakes up and makes adjustments. LeBron is playing center. This man is doing everything he can do in order to make his team better. You know what I mean? In the absence of a Anthony Davis, who doesn't want to play the 5. LeBron's like, I'll play the 5. He's leading by example, literally. He's having one of the best statistical seasons that he's had in his career, in his 19th season. And
crazy.
It's insane. So Westbrook, wake up, realize the opportunity that you have, and take advantage of it. You only have so many ups, so many years left in your prime. Why waste it being stubborn?
I'm going to half agree with you. I think that Russ, it's a problem. I don't think you can really dance around that too much, but I don't think that he is the only problem. I think the Lakers have a lot of issues. I can start with the good. Obviously LeBron has been great. 34, 10, and 6 over their last 10 games. He's been dominant. And like you said, he's even playing some centers, but the Lakers have so many fit issues. And I think we realize at this point, Russ has had success in his career doing things his way. And it's not off-ball movement. It's not it's not giving up the ball and playing as a cutter or, many of the other things that we would expect that, he should do. It's what he's been doing. I think a lot of it is on the Lakers front office. I think that the best version that we've seen of Russell Westbrook, outside of maybe Washington recently, has been his time in Houston, where they played that small lineup where the tallest person on the roster was like, or the tallest person on the floor was like 6'6", and they could spread the floor, and that left room for him to drive and get to the rim because he can still do that very well. It's just that when you're playing with the Lakers, they're one of the bigger teams in the league, and then they have fit and spacing issues. So the roster itself is just ill constructed. Russ is a part of that, but I think that if he were to play the kind of basketball that would be more conducive to their success, I think that success is still limited. Russell Westbrook could be the best version of himself for this roster, and I don't think that it vaults them into the conversation with Phoenix or with Utah or with Golden State. I think the Lakers are still kind of a middling team, like,
Yeah.
and that's unfortunate, but I think it's even more unfortunate for Russ in a way, because me, like, I'm the biggest Russ defender there is. Of course, he has his issues, and of course, some of their problems are his fault, but I don't agree with the idea that it's all his fault. I think the team as a whole, the offense is stagnant. There's a lack of effort on a lot of plays. I think the Lakers statistically walk the most of any team in the league, just overall. That's not even like, that's not a joke. That's not a assumption. That's legit. Like they legitimately run the least of any team in the league. So, and you watching it, you can tell. So,
Yeah.
and then their role players have been really one-dimensional over the course of the season. You have guys that defend but don't shoot but don't defend, pass but do nothing else. Taylor Horton Tucker has been a disappointment this year. I think they chose him over Caruso, and they chose wrong. Like,
Yes.
so that's a problem.
Yeah.
Malik Monk has been great lately. That's odd, but I mean, outside of that, if he can sustain that success, that'll definitely help them out. But I don't know. Like you said, I don't know if there's a trade for Russ this year. Because if you're a team that's acquiring him, he's a player, like I said, that requires a very specific scheme for him to be successful. He's still a very good NBA player. You just have to have a specific set of circumstances around him. I don't know. Maybe they were joking about it on various podcasts, but maybe him for Wall again.
Yeah, that's
one of the only
hilarious.
contracts you could do. It just, we don't know what John Wall is at this point in his career. He's a better passer right now. He's a better shooter, but I think Russ probably does everything else better.
I never thought I would hear that.
Yeah,
John Wall being a better shooter than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, but I mean,
rough.
John's improved. It's just, I don't know where he's at this point in his career, because we haven't seen him play, because that's another problem with Houston, who has a list of a myriad of other problems, namely players leaving at halftime. But that's another conversation that we have for another day. But I don't know if there's anything that they could do to get them back into that contender conversation this season. I don't know. Maybe LeBron has it in him still to just drag this team to where they need to get to, but it's looking a little dicey this year.
Yeah, that's a fact. God bless to the Lakers. It stinks, but at the end of the day, this is on LeBron, GM LeBron. But also, more blame goes on the front office of the Lakers. When you listen to a superstar and you give them everything that they want, especially when they're under contract and it doesn't go well, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, I messed up. And sometimes, you take chances like the Bulls and, or the Grizzlies, and your team does well, or you take chances like the Knicks and the Lakers, and it's, mediocrity and so-so-ness. But there's still another 40 plus games in the season, and teams have a chance to turn it around, especially as guys are coming back from, COVID protocol and the like. There's been a lot of turmoil and chaos in the league. So it remains to be seen. The play-in system really gives a lot of different teams hope. So there's a lot of hope left for a lot of these teams. So, I can't wait to see how the season unfolds.